3 or 4 times now you have given us your mantra, which I love: peace, love, positivity.
Totally.
But knowing your backstory as I do, those 3 things could have been bitterness, resentment, and anger.
Yeah.
They weren't. They aren't. Tell me a bit about your backstory and how it turned out to be about peace, love, and positivity, and not 3 other characteristics that are not so admirable.
I think, man, I mean, well, just kind of getting into it, like growing up, both of my parents were addicted to alcohol and narcotics. My father specifically to crack cocaine. And he's 62 years old now, and he's been clean for a few years, and he's doing well now. But back then, he wasn't a part of my life, you know, having a black father and a white mother, father that wasn't there, being raised by my mother, then my brothers and sisters or half brothers and sisters, I mean, they're my brothers and sisters, but from other black men that my mother had them with. It was like a weird kind of place to grow up in my household specifically, and then seeing like my brothers in the streets and selling crack and hustling and getting locked up and shooting and, you know, guns and doing all this crazy stuff. And I've held guns and I've run around with knives and I've gotten in fights and I've done dumb things, and I'm so happy I've never done anything that haunts me. You know, I've never taken anybody's life, thank God. I've never had to, I've never done anything that I look in the mirror and I'm truly ashamed of. I mean, everybody's done stuff that, you know, they're not proud of, but like, I'm just really happy it never went there. And so, kind of having to fight through all that, you know, domestic violence and abuse, and seeing my mother beaten by men, and, you know, blood on the kitchen floor, and my sisters being sexually assaulted and raped, my mother included, and my mother dealing with bipolar and anxiety, and it's just so crazy. I don't know, but I saw all of it. I saw it all, and I saw it as a child. And in my mind, every time I saw it, it was like, don't do that. That's what not to be, you know. Don't hit a woman, love a woman, you know, nurture a woman. Don't yell, you know, do your best to speak.
Let me cut in right quick. How did you know not to do that? Because as you well know, most people end up emulating the behavior that they see. How did you know? Like, what is this moral compass coming from?
I have no idea.
In the midst of all of that.
I don't know, man. That's the thing where like people will ask me that, and it is, you know, common sense and God or whatever it may be, the energy of the universe. But it's just I don't know. I felt bad, you know. I see that, and I was just like that's why I feel like I always tell my stylist Ricky all the time, like I'm so basic. Like I just come like basic. Everything about me is basic, and it's like instinctual to just like be myself. You know, just be you. So I think as a child, like that was me. It was me to not want to hurt a woman or force a woman to do something, or, you know, I don't know, man. I don't know. To me, it makes sense. And you know what I think it comes down to? It's just that mentality. For example, a few years ago when I first started, you know, man, not just to be completely honest with you, there was people who would say just hurtful things like, you know, you're a cracker, you're gay, you're stupid, you're this, and just these hurtful things to try to tear me down because I was just being myself, and I never understood. I asked myself, how could somebody hate me, right? And I'm not trying to be like, I'm just being honest. Like, how could you hate me? Peace, love, positivity. I came from nothing. I made something of myself, the underdog, you know, Social Security, welfare, Section 8 household, and I made it. And I can't believe it, and it's incredible. And I'm here to wave the flag for everybody to say that we can all truly with perseverance do this. And then there's people like, shut up, you're stupid, you're this, you're that, you're whack, your music's terrible. And I would always ask myself, trouble myself, like, why do people hate me? Why do people hate me? And then it clicked, and it was like, I don't understand why people hate me, because I'm not a hater, man. I'm a lover, and that's the mentality I have. I don't have a hater mentality. I don't look at things and try to dissect them in a negative way and talk about what I don't like or what could be better. I talk about the things I enjoy or that I love first.
This notion of people listening to your music and saying it's whack.
Yeah.
There may be some of that you're getting because of the way you look.
For sure. Oh, yeah, for sure.
And there may be people who legitimately don't like your sound.
Which is fine.
We all have to be open to critics. I've got them, you got them, we all have critics. The question though is, how did you get comfortable with your musical stylings when there were people telling you legitimately or illegitimately that you're whack?
I love that. What a great question.
How did you?
It's just perseverance, and it's knowing, like, so the biggest thing that you have to understand is, like, or I had to understand is, I don't make music for people that don't like it. right? Like you don't do this show for the people that are like, oh, I don't agree with that or this or that. And it's like, cool, you don't have to agree, but we don't have to argue about it. So for me, when I came to the realization about acceptance, when I stopped looking for acceptance in others, when I stopped going on Twitter to see people go, oh, you're great, you're good. I know I'm great, I know I'm good, I know I'm talented, I know I'm amazing, I know I'm special, just like you, just like the people watching. That is a real thing. And once I knew that and I could tell myself that, that's when I truly found that balance, you know? So for me, now that's not even where my mind is when it comes to an album like this, because it's like I didn't make the music stylistically for somebody who's not going to enjoy it. If you don't like it, that's cool, whatever. Like you're not invited to this party. Everybody the millions of people around the world who are here, and I'm so happy because that's who I made the music for. And another thing is like, don't be lazy. So when I was 17 years old, and unfortunately, you know, I wasn't in high school, so I got 2 jobs that I worked in the morning and the evening, and then I would go home.
Just because I'm curious, what were they?
Oh, well, I had all types of jobs.
Yeah.
At that specific time, I was working at Jiffy Lube, so I was changing oil. And then in the evening, I worked at a flower shop.
Okay, I was just curious. Yeah, okay.
And then, then I would come home and record. So I would write and I would record myself and I'd work on myself. So I was working on this craft. And I just say that to say, like, if at 17 years old, I can live on my own, work 2 jobs, and still follow my dreams, like, then just chill. You can finish high school and do what you love. But I think, I don't know, what pushed me to kind of get where I am today, it is others. It's others, man. Like, I mean, I've read some books. I'm a much more visual person, an audio person, but like Think and Grow Rich and just the true secret of this kind of unspoken thing. It's exactly like there's a language of success. And when I was explaining about haters, right? I don't understand why people hate because I'm not a hater. It's also like, go get it. Like, go do it. Like, there's nothing should ever stand in your way. When it comes to success, you have to want success more than your next breath. It takes determination, persistence, and realism, of course, and wanting success more than your next breath to attain the goals in which you want in life, just in general. And so I feel a lot of people go, well, I would do it, but. And that's it right there. I'd go to school, but I can't, or, but unfortunately, like, my mother's sick, or but this, and I have to be there. And it's like, I get it, and this is a part of life, but if you want it, you have to do it, because I think the worst thing in the world is looking back in your elder years being filled with regret. My advice here is interaction with your peers, and through that, so say there's other producers. So there's a zillion producers out there, right? So find some of your favorites or some people that you would almost see as competitors and collaborate. If you work with somebody else, you guys are always trying to outdo each other, but it's such a friendly competition that their listeners on their YouTube and their Twitter are going to find out that you guys are working together, and then they're going to want to hear what you're doing with this guy or that guy, and then through that, then other rappers are going to start to hear what you guys are doing together or even individually, and then want to mess with you, and then that rapper might have 2,000 followers or 5,000 followers, whatever the case may be. So to be quite honest, I think it's especially in this day and age for personal branding, there's 2 things. There's one, you should, do little vlogs and talk about who you are and the things that you like and the things you enjoy. How do you produce? Is it FL Studio? Is it Ableton? Do you use an MPC? Do you like the keyboard? All these things. Do tutorials. How to make beats. How to this, how to that. You want people to tune in and go, I like this guy, so for everything I want, I'm gonna come to him. Whether I wanna buy a beat, whether I wanna learn how to make a beat, or whatever the case may be, it should be all about you. You wanna be the shit, you know what I mean? So I would say just have fun and connect with others that are even better than you, and learn why they're better than you, and fucking take their secrets and kick ass.
So here, listen, it's very simple, man. I have a lot of good things going on in my life. I would trade to be you right now. If you're at a place where you're watching my Instagram Live, when you're talking to me and Logic, you're 14 years old, you've already put in 3 years worth of work, you're savvy enough to be paying attention to my content and listening to this kind of music, like you're in such a great spot. The biggest problem is when you're 14, it's hard to be patient, right? Like, it's just hard. But listen, you need to hone your craft. Like, you're still in the place, if you think about mine and Logic stories. At 14, there was no internet for me. There was for him a little bit, so it's a little bit different. But like we were just still working on our craft. I was still at baseball card shows learning how to like set up tables, trade, how to negotiate. Logic, were you writing at this point? And
I was totally writing. But one other thing that I do want you to also think about is like, you being 14, it's like you're like, oh man, I just want to do it now. I just want to do it now. There's a lot of people who are like, no, I don't want to finish school, or I don't want to do this, or I don't want to do that. Like, first and foremost, remember that if you are blessed and you are in a position where you can go to school and get an education, you do not take that for granted, because it's something that I did take for granted. But one piece of advice I want to give you and everybody out there watching who's like, no, I just want to just get rid of everything else and just focus on this one thing, that's BS, man, because when I was 17 years old, I left home and I worked 2 jobs at the same time while still working on my music. So no matter how hard it might feel or how angry it can be to just want to just do that one thing all the time, make sure you are balancing your life. It's very important.
If I could really just give people one piece of advice, you know, and just pass this along, and one thing I want you to take from this is that, like, we are all the commanders of our own destiny. It's kind of just like having that self-confidence. The music, me doing something where I was like, wow, I made this. Like my first album, when that came out, I was like, whoa, I made this. This is something I like put all my energy into, and it's out and it's released to the world on a professional level. I was so proud of myself. But let's do it again. I didn't have time to be like, yeah, my first album, yeah, people like it. It was like, okay, we did good. It didn't suck. What are we gonna do again? We gotta do another one. Then I did that one. Okay, people like it, let's do a third one. You can't get caught up in just all the other things. You know, I really was like, even still to this day, I have my fun, but it's focus. I just want to let y'all know that life will throw you a ton of curveballs. It's scary, but like if you believe, man, you know, if you believe, and if you want it, and if you want to work hard enough for it, it can be so. Because there's no difference from me and you. I just really wanted this shit. I wanted it bad. You know, and I didn't want to be a failure. And nobody's a failure in this room. Don't ever think that. We can all win. And that's it.
And then I was just like, let's just put out a song a month and just see what happens. One a month. Let's just keep going. Rapid fire. We have nothing to lose.
It's just so fucking crazy. It's document over creating. That's what it is.
Yeah.
It's just volume. Like if you're good enough, it will happen. Like you flat out wouldn't have made it 20 years ago.
Yeah.
Like Chance, like I mean it. Like
yeah.
It was just too many gatekeepers, and now the market's the gatekeeper.
Yeah.
The internet's the middleman, and now what's holding people back is they're using the old model. Right? They think they got to put out an album every 3 years. They need to be putting out a fucking song every day. Now, you may not be good enough to put out a song every day, but if you're good enough to put a song out every other day, then that's what you do. And if you're not good enough to do that, you put out a song every 3 days. And if you're not good at that, but whatever it is, you got to put out those songs. Do you know Prince's 7 best songs of all time never made it to the world?
Oh, really?
Well, no, I don't know, but I know this. But
yeah.
That's the point. The point is Michael Jackson's 6 biggest hits were like, let's not put that on the album. That's it. It's gone.
He's the #1 rap song in the country right now, and we almost didn't put it out.
We almost didn't put it out.
No, but honestly, the thing that was interesting for me, yeah.
No, really, that's it.
And
listen, people sit there and see their contemporaries go, and you felt it. You felt like, damn, I should be there. And now the internet's the answer. SoundCloud's the answer. Spotify's the answer. iTunes the answer. Vlogs are the answer. DMing me, D-Rock on Instagram to get your song on Daily V is the answer. Every single rapper, every single artist should literally DM and email and message every single vlogger that has 100,000 views per video in the world and give them free music to put in their vlogs.
Yeah. You gotta learn how to
right?
the internet.
It's distribution. Now, if the song sucks, nothing's gonna happen. I promise you'll put out a song next week and it won't do well. Yeah. And by your new standards, right? It'll do fine. But you might love it the most 17 years later.
Yeah.
Like, what are you gonna do with it? The fuck was your plan with the song? Yeah. You made it. The hell are you gonna do with it? Just keep it on a drive?
Nah, you gotta put that shit out. And you know that you make a good point, because I feel like even back then, I think the only thing keeping me from
putting it out.
reaching success, or not even
Oh,
putting
back
it
in
out.
the day.
Sorry, back in the day, or a couple of years ago.
Yeah, back in the day.
was
Back in the day, 2014.
Yeah, 2014. Yeah, exactly. I think the only thing probably keeping me from like that is, you're right, just like content and just like releasing the song. It's like we just released the song. We just put the shit out.
Once you stop worrying about what everybody says for real.
Yeah.
For real. And I mean your friend from around the way, and Jesus, and XXL, and Boyd, and like anybody. Once you actually go there and you just make a binary decision that I'm an artist and I believe in my stuff and it's all my stuff, the good, the bad, and the ugly, then it's game over.
And you know what? He recommended this one article to me that I read that it was Pharrell, and I feel like I read that right before we started putting out these songs just every month. And Pharrell was just talking about like not being extra attached to your music. He's like, people like love your music, love making music. He's like, but people like see their music as themselves, and so they you know what I'm saying, they're so worried about putting it out, and they always want to make sure that it's a hit, and they're just trying to chase success with it.
You know what's
like,
funny?
You make music, people make hits. People determine something as a smash. You just make music.
And so when did the hip hop bug kind of first catch you? When did you realize?
Super early.
Yeah.
When I was like 7, I remember listening to Get Rich or Die Trying and Eminem, and I had a notebook that I would like write raps in that were just ridiculous raps. But
like I saw a girl, she's gonna make me hurl, like shit like that.
Yeah,
okay.
Like ridiculous stuff. And I was like impersonating 50 Cent. You know what I'm saying? Like I was trying to say that I was from Queens, all this crazy stuff. And I would, stand in the living room and like perform the raps for my brother, who I just have. Older? Yeah, my older brother, and like I think that was really the inception of everything.
Why do you think I like your music so much? Now that you've gotten to know me a little bit, I think
the message 100%, which is just like, fuck it, do it. You know what I'm saying?
Of course, I know what you're saying.
Yeah.
I also, for me, just like the chip on the shoulder thing.
Yeah.
Like anytime you're like the Kurt Warner line, like your grandfather rolling in his grave, like the stuff that you talk about is like that's what I would, it connects with me. Do you get concerned, or how do you think about what you're going through now, right?
Yeah.
Like when Andy kind of first brought you up 2 years ago, you were coming up, you were clearly at a different level and well on your way to the next level. Do you worry that a lot of your engine is the chip, is the fuck it, I'm gonna do it myself, I did it myself, fuck you, you passed on me? Do you worry that that this making it now and the next version of you making it takes some of that away and can change shit?
No, because it's not being driven by an external force. It's more so being driven by, I have to prove it to myself.
Yeah.
I need to get a Grammy, not to prove to y'all that I can get a Grammy. I need to prove to myself that I can get a Grammy.
And
so what's the number one thing you wish you knew when you're starting out? So I'm 18. And what is the biggest lesson you learned when you got on the new level?
Cool. Russ?
What's the biggest lesson I learned? To follow your gut. To always just follow your gut. You know what I'm saying? A lot of shit is going to distract you.
There's opinions that you may look up to when you first go into it, but you realize they don't know shit.
Absolutely. Follow your intuition. You know what I'm saying? Listen to your gut. It's never wrong, and it knows what the fuck you want before you do. That's something that I learned heavy, because I used to get fucking beat myself up. Like, why the fuck isn't this happening? Why isn't this happening? But then you realize when whatever that thing that you were like frustrated that wasn't happening, when that thing does happen, you're like, oh,
right,
I'm so glad it finally happened now and not back then.
Like, so when you were dropping songs, I'm talking about like in the beginning, not like after you already picked up momentum. Was there anything like marketing wise that you did to try and implement, like to try and bring attention to your songs or anything like that? Like,
there was.
Like
I used to take like selfie videos of me in the basement studio singing along to the song that I just dropped, and for whatever reason they would just go crazy on Twitter, and I would do it like
and
every
how many
fucking
Twitter
week.
and I know what he's asking here, how many at that point Twitter followers did you have, just to make it contextual?
Fucking 7,000, 8,000.
And where are you at right now, Persian?
I'm at 10,600.
Oh yeah, I mean,
So
10,000. I remember when I hit 10,000, I was like, yo, we ain't gonna be broke no more.
I love it.
Yeah.
I love it. Yeah, I mean, look, I think what's interesting about what Russ just said, and we were with that backpack kid yesterday, right? You know, that little 15-year-old that's in the Katy Perry, all that dancer from Atlanta too. Like, nonetheless, both of you just said the same answer, which is I have done a lot of things in my career content-wise that was more methodical about understanding the platforms and the context and the things of that nature in the new iteration of myself. But my rise in 2006, 7, 8 with Wine Library TV, no growth hacking, no smart anything, just the content. It wasn't like you got people to get it shouted out, or you figured out the algorithm, or you figured out how to be the top of a MySpace page like we did, Boyd, when we used to do yourgrills.com, Paul Wall, shout out. A lot of people just win on the content. A lot of people think that you can't win.
Right.
When you've got 3,000, when you've got 200. This kid had 300 followers on Instagram when he put that dance video up. 300. So the content works. The problem is, for so many watching right now, you make the same exact kind of content when the market has told you it doesn't work. You've got to mix it up, right? Like, for example, like we need to make a black and white episode of Daily V. We need to make a silent film version of Daily V. We talk about it, but we haven't fucking done it. So like, even me at the game that I'm playing at am not experimenting enough, in my opinion. Everybody out there needs to experiment. Yeah. You just one time did it, singing to your own song, and that became the thing that you answered this man's question with.
Right. And you know, you got to keep in mind, bro, is that especially with music, people love to see like almost the insight to the person who really did the song. So when they see you singing your own shit, what I think why it resonated is because it's like, oh shit, like he really did make that song. Like, you know what I'm saying? Like, it kind of,
people want to see behind the cloak, right?
Yeah.
People want to see the other side.
Exactly.
About that though,
about
that with what you just said, okay, so like, say you were doing those videos, right? It wasn't like a moment where like you just like all of a sudden 100,000 people just hit up your SoundCloud. It was just like, it was gradually.
It gradually happened.
Doing videos.
Yep.
My man, do you understand that the far majority of people that have a viral hit, that they are a one-hit wonder and it's over? That everybody else, like that Russ and I's narrative is far, far, far more the common, which is one day at a time, 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 and then 40 fucking years later, you look back and be like, oh shit, we made it. It wasn't the 10,000 followers on Twitter.
Facts.
Russ, what else is on your mind? What do you want all these entrepreneurs, young hustlers to be thinking about, to know? How you think about your project? Your new project's phenomenal.
Thank you.
How are you thinking about that? Like, what?
I think people need to listen to their passion more. And a lot of people say, well, I don't know what my passion is. How do I find it? You find it by paying attention to yourself. And you find it by listening to what makes you the most enthusiastic when you think about it. And then just start there. You know what I'm saying? But a lot of people are so terrified to face themselves because of fear of rejection and criticism and weirdo shit.
I've always been asked that for a decade now. I just thought of something while you were talking. This is the most cliche thing. He's 100% right. Take a 1 week off from whatever you do, school or work, and do stuff. Whatever the fuck you're doing, just prove to yourself it's the shit that you want to be doing. Build around that.
Yeah.
If you're cooking, if you're working out, if you're making music, if you're trying to sell stuff, like, I totally agree with you, but it doesn't feel practical. Everybody's watching right now and like, easy for those two fucking guys to say, except not when we did it 15, 20 years ago.
My thing is like, it's easier said than done, but if it can be said, it can be done. And the problem is that a lot of people have like this terrible seed planted in their head from society or teachers or whatever the fuck it was, saying that certain passions are unrealistic. So when you actually ask someone, oh, what's your passion? They know it instantly. But they instantly also write it off because they've been told it doesn't make enough money, there's not enough jobs in that market, and it's not realistic. So then they move on to plan F and wonder why they hate their lives.
The number you have dialed is not in service.
That's who. I fundamentally agree with that. It's never been more practical for that to happen because the internet is now the middleman.
Right.
Like, your story and my story is literally the cliche story of crush it. Like, because the internet came along, you didn't have to move to LA and be discovered by some guy or gal that put you on. You went to the consumer and built the leverage to then pick and choose how you wanted it.
If you don't mind sharing, what was your strategy from going from like 0 followers on social media to getting to like 906,000 and over, if you don't mind sharing.
Yeah, it was literally put out as much shit as possible at a high level, like quality and quantity. They always said, oh, you have to pick quality over quantity. I was like, why can't you just do both? Why can't you have high quality and high quantity? And that's kind of what broke the fucking system. That's what did it, is that, you know, the first song I put out didn't get 1 million plays in the first day. The second song didn't either. The 50th one didn't either, but on the 98th one, it did. You know what I'm saying?
Was it actually 98, or are you just kind of spitballing numbers?
Yeah.
Okay. Good.
Yeah. I think it's 98, 99, some shit like that. But content is key. Just put out a shit ton of shit. It just has to be good.
Both of you guys, I mean, how do you guys gain that self-belief and self-confidence, you know, at the start of your career to be so successful? Because, I mean, in Russ, in your booklet and your album, you talk about how it's so imperative to be confident and have self-belief to be successful.
You want me to tell, like, honestly, the truth is you have to be born with it. Or number two, how you can kind of curate it is you run directly headfirst at fear. Like, wildly crazy at fear. Like, if you're scared to go on stage, go on stage. And then afterwards, you're going to be less scared. And then do it again. If you're scared to go up to the girl and talk to her, go up to the girl and talk to her. Like, anything you're scared of, you can actually just attack it. And then
Right,
the
you
fear
can just sit there and be like, fuck
invigorating.
it, I'll do it myself.
Respect. You know, not to sound corny or nothing, but I felt like a fighter coming up, man. I felt like, I'm being attacked for this reason or that reason, and I got to fight my way through this.
So you had to change schools every couple months?
Yeah, I would change schools 2-3 times a year, and that was probably the roughest part.
The roughest and most formative. He was a shy kid in tough public schools and was frequently bullied.
You got beat up a lot as a kid?
Yeah, there was a lot of instances that I would.
You got beat up coming home from school?
Beat up in bathroom, beat up in the hallways, shoved in the lockers, you know, just for the most part, man, you know, just being the new kid. Hip hop has always been about bragging and boasting, and I'm better than you at this, and I'm better than you at that. And I finally found something that, yeah, this kid over here, you know, he may have more chicks, like he may have better clothes or whatever, but he can't do this like me. You know what I mean? He can't write what I'm writing right now. And it started to feel like, you know, maybe Marshall's getting a little respect.
I've heard you say that you bend the word.
Yeah, it's just in the enunciation of it. Like, people say that the word orange doesn't rhyme with anything. And that kind of pisses me off because I can think of a lot of things that rhyme with orange.
What rhymes with orange?
If you're taking the word at face value and you just say orange, nothing is gonna rhyme with it exactly. If you enunciate it and you make it like more than one syllable, orange, you could say like, I put my orange 4-inch door hinge in storage and ate porridge with George. You just have to figure out the science to breaking down words and try to.
And do you think about this throughout the day? I mean, you're driving along, you think about rhyming words?
Yeah. All day. Yeah, I actually drive myself insane with it.
But it's interesting, I mean, for a guy who hated school, who, you know, was in the 9th grade 3 times, you spend all your time thinking about words.
I found that no matter how bad I was at school, like, and no matter how low my grades might have been at sometimes, I always was good at English.
But I heard that you used to read the dictionary.
I just felt like I want to be able to have all these words at my disposal in my vocabulary at all times, whenever I need to pull them out. You know, somewhere they'll be stored, like locked away.
His words are stored, but they're not exactly locked away. He actually keeps them in boxes.
So you store stuff in just boxes like this?
Yes.
Inside are hundreds of scraps of paper on which he's obsessively scrawled down words and phrases.
So, wait, this is a pad from a hotel in Paris, it looks like.
Yeah.
And you just scribbled that, you have 4 little words, just scribbled it. How do you even read this? This is tiny.
I know what it says, I guess. I don't know, that I might use that, actually.
They're not lyrics, really. They're just ideas that he collects. He calls it stacking ammo.
So it's just like when I
I've
feel
gotten
this
letters
up
from crazy people, and they kind of look like this.
Yeah.
Sometimes, yeah. Either all in capital letters or sort of scrawled on pages like this.
Yeah, well, that's probably because I'm crazy.
You almost died.
Yeah, definitely.
How close do you think you were to dying?
They said 2 hours. If I would have got to the hospital 2 hours later, that would have been it. Because my organs, everything, my kidneys, everything were failing. Everything was shutting down. And artists can say that they get used to it, but I think that they're probably lying if they do. Because you gotta be wild, man. You gotta be like, you gotta be taken back by seeing this many people in their faces and, you know what I mean?
And do you actually see their faces when you're performing?
Oh, yeah.
Say, everybody come take my hand, we'll walk this road together. 10 years ago, could you have imagined yourself rapping something like that?
Probably not. You know, I don't want to go overboard with it or too, you know, but I do feel like that if I can help people that have been through a similar situation, then, you know, why not?
It was weird for me because I had always approached music in a very, just for my ears only, this is therapy for me type of, you know, with that kind of mentality.
And what was it you got?
I got this sense of freedom. It just made me feel like I was really, you know, getting over something, or I was really making headway and working in, you know, on a problem or an issue. And just that feeling of self-improvement really attracted me and pushed me forward. I was going for a sculpture of myself. You know, I was going for making a mirror image that I could really sit back and analyze. And I think that when I put out, you know, my first EP on the internet, it was the first time that I actually started to see a face in that sculpture.
What happens to you on stage?
I think a lot of things that I feel like I wasn't able to express for whatever reason start to kind of creep out. I think that I'm always looking for that self-therapy. And I guess, you know, what I do on stage is the closest thing to that self-therapy.
But you were like a hustler,
Yes.
like, and I don't mean that in like the typical way we hear the word hustler in like the hip hop community. Like when you had a job to do, you'd take the package, you run down the street,
Yes.
you run back and say, what can I do next?
Yes, yes. I really felt that if I could be trusted with delivering a tape, to be the best tape deliverer, that maybe I would get a chance to have the responsibility for something else. And I set my eyes on the record business and getting a chance to be in charge of the artists. And so that was my work ethic.
And you built this empire that has obviously resulted in you have many millions of dollars, maybe even close to $1 billion. Is that a goal of yours to make $1 billion?
No.
It is not?
No,
okay.
You have. My goal is to be happy.
Your goal is to be happy.
Your mother has you when she's 15.
Mm-hmm.
Your mother is selling drugs.
Yes.
She's dead when you're 8.
Right.
At 12, you start selling drugs.
Right.
At 15, you're the drug kingpin in your neighborhood. 150 grand a month.
Doing pretty well. Not 150 grand, but
that's what. How close?
Less than that.
A little less than that. Okay. Whatever it was at 15, it ain't bad money. At 15, how does? Two questions in that regard. If you knew that your mother sold drugs,
right,
and you knew your mother died when you were 8, right, because she was caught up in that drug culture, why at 12 and 15 you decided to do the same thing?
Because it was nothing to make reference to that was a part of the lifestyle that I aspired to. You know, when you point out that my mom had me at 15, the only option at that point is welfare or the street. You know, there's not even a blue card for you to work if it's not the middle of the summer.
As an adult, how do you regard your mother? How do you look back on your mother's life and legacy now?
Well, you know, the things you go through make you who you are. So because I don't regret where I'm at, I can't regret my experiences. You know, and I know what her intentions were, you know, and what mine were initially, just wanting better life at that point, you know, and I went into that space. What happened is the things that I've seen made it a legitimate option prior to, it doesn't seem like one of the options, it's like the only option when you're 12, you know, like What people didn't understand was when I actually started hustling, I still had to be two people. I had to be aggressive enough to get by in the environment, and then I had to come in and straighten up and be my grandmother's baby. Like, I wasn't even allowed to curse in my grandmother's house, you know? So it's different than the perception of things.
What does it say to you that at 15, you were smart enough to know mathematical percentages, how to divvy stuff up, how to count cash, how to invest cash? You knew all that at 15, but you were caught up in a drug culture.
Right.
The question is, what does it say to you about what black kids, black men, black boys are capable of if given the opportunity?
Well, I wasn't even the best one out there.
Yeah.
So there's people out there that are far more advanced in that
Yeah.
actual space. So it's like, it makes me feel like there's opportunities there, and that they're not actually seeing those opportunities. It makes me feel like, without having everything that comes out of my mouth be something that you would say, that guy's a role model, I'll be an inspiration and inspiring to the people that come from the circumstances I come from. And it gives me a bigger responsibility, not just myself, but for other people, so they can have an example of how they can make it. And not living in a house with both of your parents isn't an excuse for you not making it, or not having anything initially isn't an excuse to not make it. You know, for me, I don't see, at this point, I tell them good luck if they think they can make me feel like I can't do something that I set my mind on, you know? Because I already come so far from where I come from that it's impossible for you to discourage me. The actual system wasn't prepared for me. You know, I thought I was ready in '97.
Right.
And I didn't have a major record company marketing to promote my project till 2003.
Right.
You know, so for that time period, I had to run on my own energy. You know, I had to convince myself that I'm gonna make it. You know, regardless of how people felt at that time. And what it does is it makes you feel like, well, it made me feel like there's gonna be points that people are gonna mistake my confidence for arrogance, because they don't understand the process I went through. And how much I had to believe in myself in order to make these things happen. I feel like you can will yourself into a good space. Things that are meant to happen will. And if you believe in yourself enough, you can help yourself learn. You can inspire, yourself in different ways where you can actually discipline yourself. To the point that you can become good enough. Like from '97, like when I started writing, it was full time. Like every day I was writing music because I had no choice. If I was gonna stop hustling, then how was I gonna provide or continue the lifestyle that I created for my son's mom, my son, and myself? Well, when you don't see limits, because like if you're coming from a space where you're actually ambitious, I don't think ambition is a learned behavior. I think it's a part of a person's natural character. So I'll always, no matter what I accomplish, you're gonna see me back at your show saying, I think I got another idea, I can make this work. You know what I mean? Like, and you're gonna be like, this guy just won't stop. But I'm telling you in advance, you'll see me again. But like,
I think that means that 50 just booked himself on the show again. That's what I think that means. But go ahead.
Yeah, but like I'll always find a new goal set for myself and work towards accomplishing it, because that's what really excites me. That's what makes me happy. Like when it works. A lot of times there's nothing around to support it. It's just me. Like even Vitamin Water deal, it's one of the best deals I've been associated with, and there was nothing around to support that idea except my actual lifestyle.
Right.
Because I gained weight. A lot of people don't even know I gained weight during the tour from Get Rich or Die Trying to the Massacre. If you look at the cover of the Massacre, I actually had to draw the muscles back on. I'm turning to a little fat guy. I said, yo, give me a pen. I drew over the top of the picture and put it out as the actual album cover, because those lines wasn't there anymore.
So the Vitamin Water.
Yeah, that was a substitute for soda, a healthier option for me at that point.
And it turned into a $100 million deal.
I went and I explored the possibility of being a part of the company, and they were open to it.
Do you see yourself becoming a billionaire one day?
Yes, but I'm not really focused on it, because it takes some time.
The question was, do you see yourself doing it?
I can see myself continuing success. So at what rate? I'm just not, like, that's not my focus right now. I felt like after you accomplish enough, I'm already a billionaire compared to where I come from. I don't generally see things that I can't have. Like, it's an option. Like, when I look at Home and Exquisite Living, it was just a choice. I could have had that instead of the home that I bought in Connecticut, or I could have had that car instead of the 3 cars that I decided to have. So it doesn't feel like it's necessary. And you can have 18 bedrooms and you still only gonna sleep on 1 bed. You find that out after you have 18 bedrooms, because the ambition will lead you towards wanting those, the biggest possible things for yourself in life.
And when you, one more question here, and when you reach that level and you start to move into the world that you moved into as a CEO and a mogul and somebody that thinks more about ownership, is there another level of lesson that you learn?
Of course, you start to think about what you're genuinely after, and that's happiness. So I'll always pick a new goal and move forward in different ways. So I think ambition is a tunnel that you run through that doesn't end.
So these guys gave me my college education and taste in music and feel and how to record and why to record. The thing about this documentary is the question, what young people will get out of this is the why.
Yeah.
And what I hope they get out of it is the line in the thing about making fear a tailwind instead of a headwind. Most people wake up, including myself in those days, and fear was pushing me back, stopping me. And if you can figure out how to harness that and push you from behind, it's as powerful as the force.
Wow.
It is.
Yeah.
And if you can get that fear of failure, whatever that fear thing is, to push you and say, I can fail and I'm still cool. And just keep going, and you get knocked down, get up. And that's what the documentary is really about. It's about a white and a black guy comes from 2 racially challenged neighborhoods and get together and just keep moving. No matter how many things break, no matter how many times it falls down. And it shows you how we learned that in our lives as individuals and recording engineers and producers, But that's the vibe of the documentary. Documentary is how to just take fear and get it out of the way.
Get it out your system.
For me, my art has always been a means of trying to dig into some sort of truth, whether that was truth in myself, truth in society, using the page as a means to peel away the layers and try to figure this experience out that we call life. And that's a daunting process at times, but one that is the reason why I make art, why I write raps. And this was a record that was difficult. We watched, when we first met, we were an underground rap group, and we obviously had a lot of success fairly quickly. Although we've been doing it for a long time, the success happened very fast. And there was a certain point in around 2013 where we had, I wrote this original record, White Privilege, now 10 years ago. And this was a very different moment. From that perspective, 10 years ago, I was looking at it from an outsider, from an observational point of hip hop has changed since I've been a fan of it. Who's coming to shows has changed since I started to go to shows. The mass consumer, what it looks like on television, the success of Eminem, the success of underground rappers that are white, everything is changing. I was looking at it from that perspective. Fast forward 10 years, here I am at the center of a conversation about race within hip hop, cultural appropriation, the Grammys, the process of who gets on the radio, who doesn't. And it felt necessary and very important for us to address that again. And to not shy away from that topic, but to step into the conversation and all of its inherent flaws, all of its, all of my fear around like, yo, what am I gonna say now? It felt necessary.
There's something else I've been thinking about. I want to throw at you since the vibes I'm feeling. This is something you haven't heard this one yet from me.
Go, let's go.
I have a concept that I haven't seen. Okay. Song comes out, album comes out, project comes out, something pops. In movies, they come out with number 2 quick. You put out, right, Guardians of the Galaxy, you're like, what the fuck happened? It blows up in the theater, they're fucking in production on number 2 from the bat. You write a song, it's about what you're going through with your girl, with your best friend, with somebody sick in your family, and it goes. Well, it's been some time in between you writing that and now it happening. To write the update and piggyback off the momentum is something I've never seen.
So, quick question.
Yes, sir.
Would that not be considered the remix?
No.
No.
The remix is other people's ideas on top
Well,
of
it could be your idea.
The remix is some form of a collaboration that's building off the equity of the popularity. There used to not be anything called the remix.
Right.
I'm old. I grew up, like, there was no remix. There isn't something called the follow-up or the update, but I think it can happen. The speed in which you can do things, that fucking excites, because I'm in it for, you have to understand who I am as a listener. I'm in it for the story. You're not just talking about like going to the club and having fun, which is great. When you're telling life stories, life didn't stop. And if that song went, and you've got a couple more lines to add to the equation, that is super interesting. A project that took 2 years to come out, a song that resonates, a truth that there is a follow-up story, not fabricated, that you can get generated about. And then it comes out 11 days later and everybody's been feeling that song and now you're telling them what happened, you're feeding them.
Wow, okay.
I bet you didn't think that was coming today.
As I was listening to him, I just hear all the similarities and all the things in what he's saying, right? Because if you don't look at it as tickers and things like that, you're really just searching for the truth within, you know, all that. And within all the numbers and all the chaos, you're just searching for the truth, right? And that's the key to being a recording artist, right? You're telling your story or finding your truth at the moment. You know, I had, mine's a little opposite from Warren because I started a little later. My first album didn't come out till I was 26, so I had a bit more maturity of where I was at. It's my first album had all these, you know, emotions and complexities and layers to them that a typical hip hop album didn't have because, you know, we were making it at 16, 17 years old. There wasn't enough wealth of experience to share with the world. So at 26, I had been through so many different things. I had so much wealth to share, you know, with the world at that time. And from that starting point, I've never forgotten those things. Like you said, I mean, you never forget those true things that you stick to, your basic things that you know, make you successful. And for me, it's that truth, finding that truth, the truth of the moment of where I am at the time. You know, not trying to cater to a certain demographic, you know, or, you know, not being something I'm not driving a truck over a bridge 10,000, you know, the whole thing. Like, there's so many similarities in what he was just saying. It's the discipline as well, the discipline to not get caught up in the moment. You know, music is like stocks too. You know, there's the hot thing of the moment. You know, there's this hot electro sound or the hot auto-tune voice or the hot whatever's new and exciting. And you know, people tend to make emotional decisions based on that. They don't stick with what they know. This is who I am. This is what, you know, this is what I do. And then they, you know, jump on this next hot thing, and you know, it's not for you. So for me, just having the discipline and having the confidence that in who I am, you know, and if I go into a studio and if I find my truth of the moment, there are a number of people in the world that can relate to what I'm saying, and it's gonna buy into what I'm doing. You know, not because it's the new thing of the moment, but because it's my genuine emotions. It's how I feel. It's how I articulate the world. And, you know, just having the discipline to just, you know, be yourself.
Because you once said, as an artist, you are fighting against everything that's new and everyone's fascinations with new things.
Yeah, shiny things.
And when did you realize that not only did you have this ability with music and not to get stale, but recognize too, you have to be treated also, even though you love it, as a business, so that you don't end up, as so many do, they lose everything they have. They're in effect indentured to companies, and they're not masters of their fate.
Yeah, that was the greatest trick in music that people ever pulled off, is to convince artists that you can't be an artist and make money. I think the people that were making millions actually said that. I think they set that whole thing up. You know, it was almost like shameful, like especially in rock and roll. You had to pretend that, you know, you got these millionaire guys who had to pretend as if they weren't successful at all, or it would be like a detriment to their career. You know, hip hop from the beginning, you know, just, it was always been aspirational. You know, it just always broke that thing. You know, that thing that an artist can't think as well. And I think at the end of the day, as long as when you separate the two and you're not making music with business in mind, because you at some point it has to be real when they touch it, when they listen to it. You know, something has to resonate with them that's real. As long as when you're in the studio, you're an artist, you make music, and then after you finish, you market it to the world, I don't think anything is wrong with that. In fact, I know there's nothing wrong with that.
So how, going right from the very beginning, you learned about the business of music because you couldn't.
Well, we were forced. Yeah, we were forced in the beginning. I wish I could say we were geniuses and said we're going to start our own company. You know, that's not what happened. You know, in the beginning, we went to every single label, and every single label shut their door on us. The genius thing that we did was we didn't give up. We didn't say, because these guys, you know, we use that what do they know approach. You know, we didn't give up at that point. I think that, you know, that was the genius thing we did. We started selling our own CDs and we built our own buzz, and then the record company came back to us. So now we had a different negotiation. You know, it wasn't the same artist label relationship. Now we retain ownership in our own company, and it was the best thing for us, you know.
And then on the tours, you are wise enough or big enough or something where you don't mind sharing billing with Eminem or Bono.
Yeah, it's fun for me, for one, and for two, like we were saying in the car, like, you know, 1 + 1 is 3 for me. You know, I don't have that ego where I have to be the only guy on the bill or the only one that people look at. You know, I'm cool with going out with other artists. I've been doing it my entire career. You know, before Eminem, before Bono, it was, you know, R. Kelly or 50 Cent or, you know, DMX. You know, I've been doing it my entire career. I just believe that, you know, the giving people a better package. You know, that when they leave the concert hall, they want to come back again. You know, you can get them there the first time. You know, if what you're putting on is not incredible and impactful, then why would they come back the second time? You know, I think that's a lot of people make that mistake. You know, when they're hot at the moment, you know, they just sell them. You know, they sell off the name and sell off the moment. Yeah, the shiny things. You fall in love with shiny things. You sell off the moment, and then when people come to the concert, they don't have the experience. Well, we're over-delivering on the experience. You know, you're not only getting Eminem, you're getting Eminem and Jay-Z. You're not only getting Bono, you're getting Bono and Jay-Z. You can't help but leave that concert, you know, with almost like a once-in-a-lifetime experience every single time. That's what I'm trying to create.
You need to put out music, man. The big advantage now of distribution online is you need at-bats. Don't fall in love with that song. You may love it, the world may hate it. You need to put out music.
Okay.
You need to put out music.
Put it out, man, and if people love it, it'll start to generate some buzz. Like, people will listen to it, they'll share it with their friends, and you'll start to get more views.
What if I don't have the money to put out music as often as I would like to, like quality sounding music?
Then you're stuck and you lost like everybody else. You need to figure it out. Like, Prince was a janitor in his studio, and the
it's
quality
so cheap
now,
to make music now. Like, the money should not be a problem.
Jamai, listen, man.
It's really cheap to make music.
I love you, and I'm trying to be kind because John's here. Everything you're saying is backwards. You need to do and work. You're coming up with all the wrong angles, in my opinion, and I'm so pumped you called, because I'm hoping that this is the breakthrough moment. Like, you need to so far I heard it's the audience's fault, it's too far to the left, the music's too expensive. You are fully in excuse mode. You can put out plenty of quality music. To John's point, it's inexpensive, and if you want it so bad, go fucking work at the studio in exchange for studio time. Like, you need to go out and put out music, put in the work, put your head down, and then figure it out after the fact. You need to put out 150 fucking songs and see how people react to it before we hear another phone call from you.